How'd you meet Michael when you met MJ?
So Michael, the story of that was I mean, from what I remember, it's like I look at Newsday constantly, and whenever I look at Newsday, I would always be like, we didn't have cable growing up, so Newsday was like my main sports source for any news. And I look at Newsday, and I'm sure it was like I saw like the game that day, and I brought it to my dad's attention because a lot of the stuff wasn't like planned, like, oh, the Knicks are playing the Bulls a week in advance. It'd be the day of.
Oh, yeah, it's like, I don't know. And you're like, come on, Dad, one last job.
Yeah.
And then I'm out.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna sell people. And then I'm gonna sell people Barbasol and tell them it's and then tell them it's fucking mouthwash. Your dad goes to old barbershops and just pours out the combs like fresh Listerine, folks. I'm the CEO of Listerine. I'll go to the trick is you go to juvenile hospitals. They'll pay whatever. They'll pay top dollar.
Yeah, like I'm surprised my dad didn't like adopt a kid after me just so he could like continue running scams with children. But like, it was why. So as far as like the game came about, it was like, a day of type thing. I had school that day. Whenever I had school and we were going to go to a game, he'd pull me out early. We head into the city. He'd go to B&H, get some like updated camera stuff, some high like sports sports film. We maybe hit up a restaurant, go over kind of like
make a day of it.
Yeah, go over like the plan of like what we're gonna do to make sure like if anybody asks, like just let them know. One of the things he would tell me is don't say that I'm your dad. He had a fake name. He had a fake name, Emmanuel Wolf. It was a combination of his name, Manny, and my mom's maiden name. And so
Emmanuel Wolf.
Yeah. So
isn't it creepier that you're just hanging out with a guy who's not your dad?
100%, dude. I mean, as sad as this is gonna sound, is like I remember at games I'd be like, "Listen, can I just call you Dad?" Like, it would just be like this is not,
That's the name of your book right there, by the way. Can I just call you Dad?
But it was wild. Like, so we, by the time we got to the game and everything, I remember like we were in shoot around and the actual Sports Illustrated for Kids were there, like an actual reporter, an actual photographer, and they didn't have kids doing it. They weren't kids doing it. It was an actual like two adults. And
that's so funny.
So I don't know how like it happened where it was like, because obviously my dad called ahead, got press passes, and they obviously got press passes, but nobody like connected that there was multiple people from Sports Illustrated, and they didn't know. My dad made us go up to them and just to like, I don't know, like prove a point that like he's invincible, and just said hello and like introduced me to them. And most likely, I'm sure he always make me take pictures with anybody that like a security guard, because then he would like show them like the next time just to build up, camaraderie.
Rapport,
and so so he would I'm sure took pictures of me with them, and then we walked away, never revealing actually who we were or anything. But he made it a point to also tell me like, it's like, this is going to be like a little bit harder to get in with these guys here. And it's like last thing we need is like, to fucking have some shit happen.
Right.
And of course, like, I'm like, I'm nervous a little bit. Like I'm still, at that point I'm 11 years old, but,
you're seasoned.
I've done it before, but the weird thing was, so like the game starts and everything, and any of these games, like it might start in the press box, but for the most part, all the games I would have ridiculous seats. So for the Bulls game, I was in the 4th row, like behind the basket.
And this is the double nickel game, right? He comes back.
This is a double.
He scores 55 game in the Garden.
Yeah. He's wearing number 45. I mean, everybody was there. Bill Murray, like Diane Sawyer, Tom Brokaw, Phil Donahue, who by the way, every one of these people I have pictures with.
Incredible, dude.
You're gonna have to send us.
You can post them up. Yeah, I'll send you them. My dad, it's like my dad's not sitting with me. It's like, you find a seat. It's like, which is crazy. I had a 4th row seat, and it was not claimed. Nobody was coming. Nobody was telling me to get up. My dad, he's on the floor. He's on the floor the entire game. Incredible. And so it's like, I'll send you some of those pictures too, but it's
God, yes, please.
He's right there. And it's like, you see, it's like he's right under the basket with every other
photographer.
Holy
shit.
So I, at halftime was like, when I went around and I got pictures with all like the celebrities that were like, kind of like in my like seating area. And that was like, fun time. It was like, met Bill Murray and I liked him back then. So that was cool.
Yeah.
And then,
who doesn't?
Yeah. but it's like still I was like 11, but like but yeah, I loved him. And then when the game ended, my dad and I kind of like made a mad dash to like the security entrance where like for the locker rooms, and behind us was the actual Sports Illustrated for Kids, like a few people behind us. And so we were able to get in, and like they were like so many people were there. I mean, it's obviously like Jordan just played this incredible game, but on top of it, it's like he's the biggest ticket in the world.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So
first time back in New York,
and people were just amazed with what they just saw. So it's like this was like everyone's gonna rush to this locker room. Every press that was there, anybody.
As a kid, did you know that was just a historic game you watched?
No. And I'm a reporter too.
You were focused on the job. Yeah, you can't let feelings get in the mix while you're while you're doing a job.
Yeah, totally. I don't know what else to do. But yeah, so we make a dash to the locker room. Security lets us in, and they were like really being strict. And so we're like, all right, that's good. We're in. Like, but you still don't know that if you're gonna meet like Michael Jordan. You don't know if you're gonna actually get into the locker room. Like, even though we've done it a bunch of times, it was like much, it was much busier than normal.
Yeah.
And so
than normal. So I love that you've done this scam so much. You have a baseline for how busy it is at the Garden.
So I look behind us, and like the actual Sports Illustrated for Kids, they weren't even able to get into the locker room area.
Oh my God.
So like they're just waiting there, kind of like dejected, and we're in. And
they just drop a coffee mug, it shatters. Gary's dad starts walking without a limp.
It was Wolf. It was Emmanuel Wolf.
Oh man, that's so funny. So I'm like in the locker room. I see Scottie Pippen, take a picture with him.
Oh my God.
Phil Jackson, take a picture with him. Wow. At some point, my dad has me follow him. My dad has me follow my dad, and we're walking. I'm following my dad, and he like gets us into like this private locker room area, and that's where Jordan was. Jordan was in this private area, and Phil Jackson was now in there too, and a bunch of assistant coaches. So I never went into the actual Bulls away locker room that day, but Jordan was already dressed in like his suit and whatnot.
The suit, I saw the picture. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's a seat open. Like I sat down next to him. I guess like they knew that like a reporter for Sports Illustrated for Kids was probably how it went down. Was my dad told somebody, told him that there was a reporter for Sports Illustrated for Kids. They ran it by Jordan. He was like, yeah, sure. Right. So we went in. I sat down there, and
by the way, just to clarify, your dad was the photographer for Sports Illustrated for Kids in the con. He's not just some guy. Yeah. You guys are a team.
Totally. Yeah. So exactly. We're a team. Not so much now, but yeah.
Well, you're not usable anymore. You've aged out of it. You're like in Tiger King when the Cubs get too old and they euthanize them. If your dad had his way, he'd be like, all right, finish up that hot cocoa, Gary. Drink it all.
Your dad's smoking a cigarette. Kid, you aged out of the game, see?
Yeah. My bar mitzvah, I became a man and pissed off my dad. But
your bar mitzvah is just the scene from Goodfellas where he's getting made. Your dad just fucking, I can't wait. He's just like, that's it, kid, bow.
Yeah, just an empty room. I thought I was going to do an interview.
Go in. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's back there, Gary.
Yeah.